So, welcome once again. So, in today's topic, we talk about insulin administration. So, before starting the topic, let's have a look about what is insulin. So, insulin is a hormone which is produced in our body by an organ which is known as pancreas. So, as we all know, that pancreas is a hormone which is responsible for the production of insulin. In pancreas, we have a cell which is known as islets of Langerhans, and these cells are responsible for the production of insulin. So, in the normal mechanism, what happens when we eat something, our body glucose level increases, and when this glucose level increases, insulin is produced, and this insulin will maintain a balance between glucose and an insulin, and hence we are preventing from diabetes. But what happens in diabetic patient, as soon as patient eats something, the glucose level increases, but due to insufficient insulin production or due to absence of insulin, the glucose value remains increased in the blood, and that will lead to increase in the blood glucose level, which is termed as hyperglycemia, or medically it is known as diabetes mellitus. So this is the main function of insulin, to maintain the glucose level of the blood. So now quickly we will see about insulin administration. So the next question is, do every patient need insulin? Like, if all the patients who are suffering from diabetes, are all the patients required insulin? The answer is no, because we have a certain criteria the patients who require insulin. So the first patient who require insulin is the patient with type 1 diabetes mellitus. These are the patients who require insulin for no doubt. If the patient is having a failure to achieve a glycemic control with diet, exercise or oral medication, because as soon as patients are detected with diabetes mellitus, the first choice of treatment or the first choice of preference we can tell is the diet modification. Patient can be put upon exercises for the weight control, and patient can be put on oral medications commonly known as OHA, which is oral hypoglycemic agents, and the most common which we are using is metformin. But it depends upon the patient condition whether we can able to put the patient on this or not. But those patients who are not responding to these three treatment modalities, the next choice of treatment is insulin only. Newly diagnosed symptomatic type 2 diabetic mellitus with a very high HbA1c level, that is more than 9%. So if my HbA1c value is more than 6%, it is a confirmed case of diabetes. But if my HbA1c value is more than 9%, the patient can be only treated with insulin therapy. The patients who are contraindicated to anti-diabetic medications. So we have a list of patients, such as the patient who are having the patients who are having a renal disorder, the patient who are suffering from any sort of cardiac disorders, the patient is, if the patient is hypersensitive to metformin, these are the patients who are contraindicated for anti-diabetic medication. So these patients are only treated with insulin therapy. The patient, if the patient is pregnant or a breastfeeding, because in these two patients, the OHs can cross placenta, and hence it can go to the newborn also. So that is the reason why we are not giving the insulin, not giving the OHs to pregnant or the breastfeeding mothers, and the patient who is undergoing a major surgery. So these are the patients who require insulin on a normal level. So quickly we'll see about the types of insulin. So we have divided types of insulin in 5 major classes. Here you can see we have a fast acting, we have a short acting, we have an intermediate acting, long acting and an ultra long acting insulins. So quickly talk about the fast and the rapid acting insulin. It begins to work in 5 to 15 minutes. It will remain active in the human body for 3 to 4 hours, and the most common example are Novorapid, Epidra and Lispro, and these are the market name by which it is available. We have a short acting class of insulin which begin its work within the 30 minutes of administration, and it remain active for the next 5 to 8 hours, and the most common example for it is regular insulin. You have seen on the packets also it is written like this. So it is a regular insulin. We have an intermediate acting insulin which begins its work at 1 to 3 hours, remain active for next 16 to 24 hours, and the example for this is NPH. We have a long acting insulin where you can see it begins its work for 1 to 2 hours and it remain active for 24 hours. So the most common choice of doctors is Lantus for a long acting insulin, because once you have administered Lantus, it will be remain there for the next 24 hours in your body. And we have ultra long acting insulin nowadays, which begins at works at 30 to 90 minutes and it remains there for more than 24 hours. So suppose if I have given one shot of insulin in 24 hours, so the next like up to 48 hours it will be remain in the human blood. And the example for this is Tresiba. So these are the different forms of insulin which are available nowadays. So the temperature which has to be maintained for the insulin is 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, and always it should be in the fridge. Please note it down that it should not be stored in a refrigerator or in a freezer or in a chiller tray, because it has to be maintained with a temperature of 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. Insulin is available in various forms, that is 30 unit, 40 unit, 50 unit and 100 unit of insulin syringes. So you can see in this picture, these are the insulin syringes with different units. So this is a 100 unit insulin, this is a 50 unit insulin, this is a, you can see 30 unit insulin. So the syringes are available. Another form of insulin which is available is in the form of pen. So here you can see this is an insulin pen where we have a cartridge. So this part is known as cartridge, this is the pen, and this is an insulin needle. So this is the disposable needle. So once after every use, the patient needs to discard it and again use a fresh pair of needle for the insulin pen. So every time when this cartridge is finished, it can be replaced. So now we talk about the sites of insulin. So here you can see the sites of insulin. So whenever the sites come in mind, always keep in mind this term which is known as subcutaneous. So insulin is an injection which has to be given in subcutaneous form. Subcutaneous means below the level of cutaneous fat, that is in the tissues only. So the part wherever you have a subcutaneous fat in your body, as you can see in this diagram, you can administer insulin on those areas, like in the abdomen, in the thigh, in the upper thigh, at the back of the thigh, in the buttocks, in the upper thigh, upper arms, and at the scapula. So you can just administer insulin in any of the part wherever there is a subcutaneous fat. So suppose the most preferred site for giving insulin is your abdomen. So suppose I need to give the insulin of the abdomen, I need to divide the abdomen in 4 quadrants. Why we are dividing it? So that we can just rotate the site. Suppose this week I have given insulin in Q1. So next week I'll use the site Q2. The third week of the month I'll use the site Q3, and the fourth week of the month I will use the site Q4. Again I will go back to Q1 on the first month, that is the next month, first week. So like this you need to rotate the site of the insulin administration. So now comes to the part of insulin administration. So suppose if the insulin has to be given for the very first time, first I need to prime this. So prime with 2 units of insulin, and if you are going to give it for the first time, so priming has to be done from this part. So here is a regulator, so you just need to regulate at 2 units and prime the whole insulin pen. Then hold it upright and remove the air, whatever air is there, just you need to remove it out. And then whatever the amount ordered by the doctor, suppose 14 units of insulin is ordered, so I need to regulate the regulator up to 14 units, and then you need to give it. So while giving the injection, there are certain steps. So the first step is you just need to explain the procedure to your patient. Second thing, just clean the site. So that is the site cleaning. It has to be done with alcohol swab, that is 70% of alcohol. It has to be done with that. And third part, you need to just give the injection at the angle of 90 degree or 45 degree. So suppose if I am giving it with insulin syringe, it has to be on 45. If you are going to give it with the pen, it has to be with 90 degree. And after giving it, just let the needle be inside the tissue for the next 10 seconds, and you need to count for next 10 seconds, so that whatever the insulin is, it will get absorbed directly into the tissues and it will not come out, and so as to avoid the wastage as well as the wastage of that insulin. Another thing, we have a principle of 1. So principle of 1 is nothing but this is the site rotation only, as I already told you in the previous slide that it is a site rotation. One side, that is either left or right, you need to choose. 1 week, the whole 1 week I need to give the insulin on this side only. one side entire abdomen belt and one time. So that means I need to choose the side, and then I need to give it on the one side of the abdomen only. Don't give it like this, today this side, tomorrow is this, today is this, because I need to rotate the side evenly. Because if I'm not doing this, the patient may land up into another complications. So quickly I'll show you the complications. So there are various complications. So here you can see in this picture, I have already marked the encircle. So this you can see. So these are the lump which is known as lipohypertrophy. This is nothing but it's a lump of fatty tissues under the skin, and the reason of developing this kind of lump is repeated dose of injection in the same place. That means the staff or the doctors, they are not rotating the site of insulin injection, they are giving it at the same place. So it, as a result of which, it will cause lipohypertrophy, which is a complication of giving insulin. So that's all for this